Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be talking about 5 books that I love. There are definitely more than 5 books that I love, but these are especially dear to me because they have affected me in some way that other books have not, and I have always remembered them fondly, and I would like to share them with you today. So the first book is Vikram Seth's Golden Gate. Now this book is a novel written in verse, which means that the whole novel reads like a poem. I don't know if you'll be able to see how the book is written, but it's an entire story that is written in a poem form. So the book is about John Brown, who lives in San Francisco in the 1980s, and he longs for love because he has a rather mundane life. So he enlists the help of his ex-girlfriend, and she puts an ad in the paper, and he finds a girl called Liz. They fall in love and they get married, but their marriage doesn't last, and Liz gets married to his friend called Philip. That is not the end of the story. There's more to the story. There's a twist, but you'll really have to read the book to find out what that is. I loved the book because it is in verse, and an entire novel to be written in form of verse is a very difficult task, and I really commend Vikram Seth for having done that. The next book is Life of Pi, that I'm sure is a lot of people's favorite. This book is about Pi Patel, who lives in Pondicherry, and his father is the caretaker of a zoo. But the zoo is shut down, and so they have to move to Canada, and they have to sell all the animals off to different places around the world. Now the animals and the family, they get into a boat, but there's a storm and the boat sinks. Everybody is killed except for Pi and a couple of animals who he manages to rescue and put into the boat. Eventually the animals all kill each other, and the only surviving animal is a tiger, and this tiger and Pi are on the boat together, and they have to somehow save themselves and reach land. Now when he reaches Mexico, finally he alights and the tiger deserts him, and he is admitted to a hospital where some Japanese officials ask him what happened, and he narrates the entire incident to them, but they don't believe him because they wonder how it's possible for a person to survive 227 days on a boat with a tiger and not be eaten. Now you might think that you're just reading a normal story, but when you reach the end, you are forced to reconsider the entire story because you don't know whether what you've read is the actual story or what is implied is the actual story. So I really loved this book, and I also loved the film adaptation of this book because it puts on the screen everything that this book describes. So definitely pick this up. It's a lovely book. I'm sure you will love it. It's one of my absolute favorites. The next book is The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri, and a funny thing about this and the previous book is that in the film versions of both these books, The Life of Pi and The Namesake, Irfan Khan and Tabu play the roles of parents of the protagonists. And that's just a coincidence. There's no connection between that and why I love these books. So this book is about Gogol Ganguly, who is the son of Ashok and Ashima Ganguly, who come to America because his father, Ashok, he's an engineering student at MIT. So he's born in America, and he identifies with being an American rather than a Bengali. Now the whole book is about how Gogol hates his name. He's called Gogol because he was given that name in the hospital when he was born, but that's not his real name. I don't know if you're aware, but there's a Bengali tradition where people don't just get one name. They have a Dak Naam and Bhalo Naam, which is your nickname, and your good name, which is more like your official name that you're supposed to use, and you have another nickname which only your family and people who are very close to you call you. So he does not identify as Nikhil, he identifies as Gogol, but he hates that name and eventually he changes it legally. But one day when he almost meets with a fatal accident, or not really, he gets into a train accident where he's not hurt, but when he comes home his father tells him the reason behind why he gave him that name, and then he kind of regrets having changed it. But these two names, Nikhil and Gogol, are almost like two sides of this person, where he is trying to reconcile the fact that he is from a conservative traditional Bengali family, but he doesn't identify with that because he's an American boy. So the whole struggle inside him is what this book is about. And I really loved Jhumpa Lahiri's writing. It was her first book that I think came out in 2003, and I absolutely fell in love with it, and I fell in love with her writing, and I have read every book of hers after that. The next book I simply adore is Like Water for Chocolate. It's by Laura Esquivel, and the first time I read it, I really didn't know what to think of it, because it had these elements that I didn't understand whether they were magic or they were real or they were a dream. And then that's when I discovered what magic realism is, and that plays an important part in this book. But what I also love about the book is the story. It's a love story, and it's a very different kind of love story. It has a happy ending, but there's so much of magic in it. And what I love the most is that the protagonist, Tita, she loves cooking, and she infuses her food with her emotions. So anybody who eats her food is affected by the emotion that has been put into that food. The story is about Tita, who is in love with Pedro, but she cannot marry him because there's a tradition in their family that the youngest sibling should look after the mother. So her elder sister Rosaura gets married to Pedro, and they go away with their baby, but the baby dies because Tita was feeding the baby since Rosaura was not able to produce milk. Tita then goes into depression, where she's then saved by a doctor called John Brown, which is very funny because John Brown was also in the previous book, Vikram Seth's The Golden Gate. So similar names of both characters. So he saves her and he proposes to her. Pedro and Rosaura come back to the house, but Tita and Pedro then make love, and she finds out that she's pregnant, so she breaks her engagement off with John Brown. Do they live happily ever after that? Eventually, yes and no, but you'll have to read the rest of the book to find out what happens. I love this book because it's divided into 12 chapters, and each chapter is preceded by a recipe, and the whole book talks to you in the form of recipes and food. So for example, we have over here quail in rose petal sauce. I don't know if that's an actual recipe, and I wouldn't be able to make it because I can't even find like pepper in the kitchen. But it's just a beautiful, beautiful book, and I loved it then and I love it now, and I think I will always love it. It will always be one of my favorite books of all. The next book is Chocolat by Joanne Harris, and this has something in common with the previous book that I love, which is that has chocolate in the title, and this book is all about chocolate. It has chocolate throughout the book, and that's another reason why I love it. And also Vianne Rocher, who the book is about, has something in common with one of my favorite chocolates, Ferrero Rocher. So there's no reason not to love this book. The story is about Vianne Rocher, who goes to a small town in France and she sets up a chocolate shop over there during the season of Lent, which is the 40-day fasting period before Easter. The mayor is really wild and upset because he sees her as a kind of witch or a seductress or an immoral woman who's trying to seduce the townspeople away and divert their attention from prayers and religion, and who's basically just trying to disrupt the town in some way. She forms a bond with so many people of the town and they learn to love her. There are some people who are jealous of her and they try to drive her out of town or to harm her in some way. And when she finally decides to leave, all the townspeople get together and they prevent her from going, so she decides to continue staying on over there. The themes are about family and judging people and, you know, trying to live your own life according to your own rules and not falling prey to the agenda of other people. I'll be back soon with another video, and that will probably be a book review. If you like this video, please don't forget to press the like button. Also, subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I'll see you soon. Bye.